Hi, everybody. Welcome to the SAP Press Book Club. And today we've got an exciting event for all of us. It is, we're doing an e-bite, the first time ever, which is pretty cool. And so the e-bite is, let's see here. So the e-bite is actually not a book. This is the first time we've never done an actual book. It is so I printed it because you know me. It is Signavio. First time anything has ever been written about Signavio. I know that everybody has been like reading, listening, trying to figure it out. Well, these two on either side of me, Nitin and Gerry, are from SAP Signavio, and they teamed up and they actually wrote the first e-bite. I'm trying to get them to write the rest of the book. We'll see how much that goes. But so I'd like to introduce Gerry McCool.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. It's great to be here with y'all today. Look forward to sharing a little bit about the book, the story, why we wrote the book, and any questions. So,
perfect. And Nitin Singh.
Morning, everyone. Nitin Singh. I'm colleague of Gerry, senior principal, value advisory, overall 17 years with SAP. Lots of appreciation for process transformation, and very excited to hear from all of you and answer your questions. Thank you.
I think that both of you were unexpected. So when we went to Sapphire, all three of us were there, and Sapphire, they had a Signavio booth. And I don't think anybody expected the crowd that we got at the Signavio booth. They were packed, like 100 people deep. And you look down at the other booths and there was like, I was like, oh my God. Everybody wants to know about Signavio. Were you two like, oh my gosh, when you saw that?
I was for sure, Kendall. I was kind of like amazed, pleased, whatever else you'd want to say. JP and Mark had, captive audience. They had a large captive audience almost throughout the event. So it was.
I want to say
kudos
to JP, the best, hands down guy to like demo. He was great.
Yeah, that I would say that was not surprising given the focus. I think based on our experience, most of our large companies, large customers are having a lot more appreciation for the process transformation. So I know that many of our large companies have done a good job on implementing technology, but now it's a time to to figure out how this technology changes are eventually transforming their operating model. And operating model is nothing but a combination of different activities and process they run to manage their operations.
Exactly.
And having that appreciations, I think, got validated further when we went in Sapphire. And I think we talked to Gerry and I talked to probably hundreds of customers, and all of them had the same question that we are implementing technology, we are implementing ERP, but the missing piece right now is, are we using the right processes? Are we using the right best practices to implement? So seeing that crowd on SAP Signavio definitely was not surprising, and it actually further validated our understanding that this is an era where our customers are, when they are transforming to cloud, they are not looking this as a simple technology lift and shift. They are looking really at a business transformation.
Yeah.
So very exciting to see that crowd.
Excellent. Well, again, for everybody who doesn't know, if you don't know, I'm surprised, but my name is Kendall Tyler, and I am the host of the SAP Press Book Club. And so you can find all of these videos online on the YouTube channel for SAP Press. And this one will be on there too. And we want to make it so that if there's something else you want to know, you can look into that as well. But I'm going to ask the question that everybody wants to know. You ready? What is SAP Signavio? Who wants to take it?
Yeah, so I can attempt it, and Gerry, feel free to head it. So SAP Signavio is a business transformation suite from SAP. So when we say business transformation suite, business process transformation suite, that does mean many components to it. So it has a component of process mining, which I think most of us are aware of, where mine the process, figure out where the opportunities are. It has a component of the process management, where exactly how you define your process model. And there's a component of measuring the process performance, which is process insight and process discovery. And then there's a component of process governance. And how do you govern that process? Then eventually, as part of continuous improvement, having process intelligence to find the root cause analysis. So if you put everything together, it's a sort of, you can think of it as a transformation journey partner, which not only helps you unearth the opportunities, both from the process performance as well as process model, but it also helps you execute by defining your processes by best practices and certain processes, automating those using process automations. And then eventually, whatever you are executing, be able to measure in real time and see, are those changes giving me the results which I'm aspiring for? And if there are issues, be able to help you in root cause analysis and go to that continuous improvement life cycle. So it's nothing but having your transformation journey partner, which helps you every step along the way, in a simple term.
So I have this crazy analogy, and tell me if this is right. This is like layman's term for everybody out there. So I consider Signavio kind of like a giant net that you would lay down on top of your entire system. May it be JD Edwards, it could be Oracle, ServiceNow, SAP, just you lay the net on top, and then you're able to watch the data all through all of your different systems, and then be able to say, this is the industry best practice. We suggest you're not doing this right. And it's making a problem here. And so maybe it's someone's not learned how to do their job or whatever it is. And then say, we recommend you do this. Or it's saying like, you're not using these systems. Why are you using this? Get rid of that. Or being able to say, you're duplicating yourself on 5 different systems. You don't need to do that. That kind of thing where it's like, or it's saying, you're not expanding your SAP footprint where you can. And this would help you do this and this and this. And so, and it's also a way I think that when people retire, grab that information about what they know in their head and watch what they're doing in their job and help kind of like, build out what are the business processes? Because you can actually like document them out separately too, can't you? But is that the kind of like, is that layman's term? Is that kind of what it is?
I think that's pretty fair, Kendall. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's, many, if not most of our customers have a kind of a heterogeneous landscape. And so they're using our technology and a mixture of other technologies. And what often is vexing for people is trying to get to ground truth with how their processes operate and interoperate across those different systems, across different geographies, business units, et cetera. And so just securing the data to be able to answer the most basic of questions can be a challenge. Being able to put that data all together to assemble some kind of a coherent story about what's actually happening in the enterprise just makes it even more complex. And being able to do it, we talk about doing this at scale. Being able to do it at scale is important. And what I mean by that is answering the question once is hard. Going back and answering it again and again to see if you've in fact made a change afterwards is really, really difficult. And so, we believe that this is a pretty unique capability and transformation suite to be able to go and do that.
So did you guys like my jeans analogy? I have the best jeans analogy, trends, okay? So I think that, so when I was young, it was really cool to put rhinestones on the back of my jeans, And then all of a sudden it's not cool anymore. And so the company has to figure out, okay, now no rhinestones on the back of the jeans. And then like 10 years later, they go, hey, we want rhinestones back on the jeans again. It's back in fashion. Well, they're all like, well, how did we do that? What did we do? I mean, if they had actually documented it back then, they would easily be able to do it again, pivot your organization faster based on, different things.
Absolutely, Kendall. I think you are spot on. It's about having best practices, having documentations, and be able to learn from your experience. That is the key. And I think once you, as Gerry pointed out, the scale becomes so much important when you are talking to a company which is $10 billion excess revenue. So there's a saying that if you go beyond, if you are a couple of $1 billion company, I think you can always throw bodies and make things work. But once you go that tipping point, right, it becomes increasingly harder to manage your operations environment. And you do need a repository of best practices. You need an access point that how technology is evolving. Are you able to leverage those advancements in terms of your business processes, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not only about implementing machine learning, it's about finding that use case and then finding that how that use case translate me in running my business better by transforming my business model, my operating model, using that process, right?
Because you have best practices built into Signavio.
Exactly.
For each industry.
Each industry, most of the industries, and the process maps and capabilities map, they're all part of SAP Signavio process of Explorer as well as SAP Signavio Process Manager. So we have those best practices which you could leverage. Not only that, I think it goes beyond that as part of SAP Signavio Process Intelligence and Process Insights, what we have is we also have the best practices data points that how the best run companies are running their processes in terms of specific matrices. So not only that, you could also compare your business along the way and figure out how I'm comparing with the best in class in my industry. So then figure out those gaps, and then you can start adopting best practices for that industry if that's a gap you identified.
Oh yeah, getting ahead of the competition. But you got to be able to understand your business in order to do that. And the only way to understand your business is watch the data. Where's it going? What's it doing? That's really, frankly, that's half of the battle, I think, don't you?
Exactly. And Kendall, I could probably thinking of telling a story. So I was working with a large industrial machinery company, right? Multi-billion dollar MNC. And we were doing a sort of management consulting study for them and figuring out where the opportunities are when they move to the cloud or to the ERP, what's the key imperative, right? So we were working on their shop floor, figure out how the processes work. Then I noticed that there are about 10 large sub-assemblies. They are waiting on a specific area in a big plant, right? Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting to see. So we big machinery, right? So I asked them that seems like they are big one. Oh yeah, they are. Then we went to the next work center where the workers were sort of sitting idle and right. So I asked them that, are they waiting for some tasks? They said, yeah, they are waiting just for the same those 10 large sub-assemblies which you just saw. I said, okay, but are they not moving? They said, oh, you know what? Let me find out. Then interestingly, we find out that all of those 10 sub-assemblies, probably worth multi-million dollars, were all waiting for one single part. And then we started inquiring that why are they missing that part? So the answer we got is that when we ran our materials requirement planning, it's basically a planning process which every large company does to figure out how much I'm gonna receive from a suppliers, how many I have in stock, how much can I allocate to an order, right? So they couldn't run that process and they missed the deadline to order those parts. And then the next time they ordered, that product was already out of stock, that raw material was already out of stock for the supplier. So they were in a multi-week cycle where they couldn't order and couldn't receive it. And then they were just waiting on that. So if you see the impact of that, not having that process where they can replenish it based on the insights, they were not only have lots of cash sitting on their floor, but also they couldn't ship those materials out to their customers and not able to see that revenue coming into their books right away. Not only that, they're also losing productivity because the downstream process, the workers are sitting idle and they are just on a waiting mode. So you can see one bad process can have cascading impact throughout the life cycle. And that's something which is less understood. And that's where Gerry and I, right, we come from the team value advisory, where we see those impact right at the bottom, that not having that right appreciation for the process, how does that result into value leakage and how can it have cascading impact, right? So that was one of the motivation, right, when we started writing this book, that how do we ensure that all those experiences we are bringing right to the table and try to discuss that in a way where make it simple, start leveraging best practice and start sharing those examples across the board.
Well, don't most companies, when they talk about business processes, they hire out to some consulting firm that is like, yes, we're going to sit down and talk to all your people, and then we'll write down what they do, go to the next person, then we'll write down what they do. And isn't that kind of what like some of those big consulting firms do, and then hand them like, here is a book.
It is. It is, Kendall, and you have to kind of appreciate the irony. Having spent a number of years in management consulting, and now as a value advisor, we definitely see that. I have seen it. I think we've all sort of seen it. There are probably a number of folks on the line that are smiling right now. The challenge with that, of course, is you talk to one group of people or one person and you get one version of the story. Then you go to Guadalajara, you hear a different version. You go to Dublin, you hear a different version. And it's like, wow. And so here you have an opportunity to certainly do that, but you can accelerate it incredibly by, actually listening to the system data and,
yes,
what's actually really happening.
And it changes all the time. So how can you, I don't understand that. Why would anybody invest in writing all this stuff down when like next week it could totally change? And then the whole thing doesn't mean anything.
That's a great point. And that's one of the other things that becomes interesting is when you consider sort of the evolution of how process has taken place, sticky notes on walls and so forth, which is effective when you're in a room. The challenge often becomes somebody has to then capture that, put it into some kind of a modeling tool, whatever that might look like. And virtually by the time they've transcribed it from the wall to make it digital, it's already out of date. And then somebody has to own it and maintain it. So quite often it's not really a very good reflection of ground truth or reality at all.
Do you think it's better to map it out first and then run this and see what the difference is? Or do you think you should run this and then say, oh, wow.
I would run this. I like to look at the data.
Me too.
But I do think that it's important to have a sense of what process we're looking at. And so,
well, you said in your book that, companies that are true business process transformation are continuously doing business process transformation all the time. It's not a one-time deal, right?
Oh, absolutely. The thing, and I was just speaking with a colleague just a few minutes before we jumped on this call, and we were talking about the fact that most of the time, and a lot of people don't like the word transformation, and I respect that.
What do they call it?
Well, maybe it's a little overused of a word, but whether it's large scale change or small change or large projects and small projects, what remains is the fact that it's rarely the case that there's one transformation going on and nothing else is happening. I mean, we just don't often have that luxury. So there are always going to be smaller scale changes, projects, smaller transformations perhaps going on at the same time. And so being able to balance those, adjudicate those, understand the interdependencies, that's invaluable. And so, how do you prioritize among and between competing projects?
About that, one thing I loved was how do you build a business case on something that's wrong, where you can take it to management and say, hey, there's something wrong here. We want to do a project. And he's like, well, you can actually take that and say, it's my real data. Look. And then you'll get funded for your project, obviously, but it's a great way to do that too.
Absolutely, Kendall. You are spot on. So that's another angle where this business transformation suite solution, especially SAP Signavio, I think it has those connectors directly with your ERP systems, where you can gather the insights from the process performance perspective and be able to gather the usage data out. And be able to commingle them and figure out this is an area where your process performance is not up to par. For example, some customers struggle with on-time delivery performance. So let's say on-time delivery performance is not good. Then what does that mean? So then going to the system and figuring out, is that the order cycle time? Is that when you're receiving a sales order and be able to ship it out, is that cycle time an issue? Or is that something which is happening between the line where you are not able to correct your pricing or not able to allocate inventory to your customer orders and they are always in a waiting state, right? So figuring out those root cause analysis. So having that usage and performance, that becomes a key input for a business case, Kendall. And I think we all are already working on business cases, which we now can create with the less input or less cumbersome process. We can leverage these insights directly and be able to validate those findings with our customers to create a very quick turnaround business case. So these days, we work with the customer, we could create a large ERP transformation business case within 3 weeks, which was not possible before, because now we have access to these tools, as you rightly said, right?
So that would be helping do like an S4 transformation from ECC to S4?
Exactly, yeah.
Sure.
Well, that would be
Or
slick.
even, yeah, or it could be, again, that would be like a large scale transformation, but it could also be a smaller one. And so it could be simple problem solving, like, okay, hey, we have a problem with our day sales outstanding. Why is it taking so long? And it's being able to really take a discrete business problem and be able to pick it apart and look at, you know, a key performance indicator, which is really great and really valuable, but there's a lot of stuff in the soup, a lot of things, a lot of factors, variables go into forming a company's DSO. And so, you know, when you start to look at the backlogs and exceptions, the level and degree of automation, and you start to see what impact that is ultimately having on lead time and ultimately that day sales outstanding, you can take something that ultimately is a little bit opaque and probably has a lot of different drivers and start to independently look at those drivers and see how they're working, you know, in conjunction with one another.
Don't you think this will help like be more engaging with the users and be like, you know, helping them a different way where, you know, they have something that's been wrong and it's driving them crazy. And then, you know, you walk in and go, hey, fixed it, and they're like, oh my gosh, I love you, you know, but they are too afraid of, they don't know who to go to tell that they have this problem.
Yeah, Kendall, I mean, you're heading the right spot. So we have seen our customers, I think most of them have their eyes light up when they see these findings, because in some cases that validates what their thinking was, but more importantly, in some cases, they have some hidden problem which they did not know existed. So I'll give you an example. So one of my customers, I mean, I think I saw that in probably 3 other customers, that their automation rate for purchase order was pretty poor. It was like close to 5% or 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So purchase order is something which you would buy your suppliers from, right? So that's very important document, very important transaction, business transaction, which you would use to order your raw materials to your suppliers. So that rate was pretty poor, right? So we started inquiring. So just looking at it from process angle, what you would do is, I mean, your I would say default reaction would be, let's have some RPAs and automate the purchase order process. What's the big deal, right? Let's automate that. But then it's not about that. It's about identifying those root cause, right? So when we started peeling the onion and figure out how does the purchase order being created by the upstream process, where you start collecting a purchase requisition, combine into purchase order. Before that, what happens that you run your materials requirement plan, which then eventually take the requirements and start blowing it up into purchase requisition. But what happens before that? Before that, we start creating our forecast, right? And it's a make to stock scenario. And that forecast is being fed into your materials plan. And then you execute that report, create a purchase requisition, purchase order, right? When we do all the way back, we figured out that it was the forecast accuracy which was a poor, because the buyers did not trust the forecast accuracy and they did not trust the planning input. So that's the reason, even though they had the tools, they had the technology, but they did not automate the process by design, right?
Yeah.
So this is also another area, interesting one, that this process insight should not be just looked at in a siloed manner. It should look in a holistic manner, upstream, downstream, see the cascading impact, and be able to make informed decisions based on that, right? In this case, we started letting them adopt the new capabilities, technological advancement, and the new best practice which they can adopt. So it's not only about technology, it's also about the people, right? How they are using the technology, and also about the process, how you're designing your process, right? So that's where people, process, technology, all things will come into picture. Just having technology alone wouldn't solve these all the problems.
So you have, for the SAP Signavio Transformation Suite is comprised of different components. And can you use them separately? Do you have to use them all together? Is there a certain order that you should do that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So you can absolutely use them separately. They are designed to be interoperable and work together as a complete whole. And so, and we have a lot of customers who use pieces of the suite. We also have many that use the entire, the whole thing. But, when you think about like analyzing and mining process, you're in the realm of SAP Signavio process insights and process intelligence, right? And so being able to look broadly with that broad net you described earlier,
yeah,
or being able to really laser beam, deep dive, surgical type strike and look at process with intelligence, the ability to map, manage, model processes and customer journeys. What's interesting is I don't think that the world of process modeling is so new, but the ability to go and do customer journeys from the opposing side, from the outside view, so that customer and employee journeys are actually correspond with the servicing internal process. I think that is, and being able to get kind of friction scores and efficiency scores on those, really, really cool, very, very powerful. The ability to manage it, govern it at scale is.
What's your favorite?
What's that?
What's your favorite out of them all?
I like process insights a lot.
What about you, Nitin? What's your favorite?
I don't know.
So, yeah, I would say process insights and process manager both, because process insights lets you find an insight, manager lets you model and adopt best practices, even to execute that, right? But Gerry hit the right points, that is about having different, I would say, requirements, and maybe having a different phase of your transformation. So what Gerry described, Journey Modeler, very, I would say, highly a recommended tool for the customer who are looking for business model transformation. They're looking at, from the experience perspective, how my process are impacting the overall customer life cycle experience, right? So from that perspective, it becomes really important for those customer-facing organizations looking to do their business model transformation. But then it also comes about, if some customer is looking simply to just consume the best practices, capabilities, and be able to execute that, the process explorer and process manager would be the right fit. But process insight, process discovery could be the right fit for the customer. They are looking to see how my ERP are designed and how can I start getting the insights that what my process performance is and how my processes are being executed in the system. Having those two insights to plan my next steps, that's where those could be important, right? So there are, I would say, different starting point. In our experience, we can say that process insights could be a good, I would say, low-hanging fruit, which most of our customers can easily leverage as long as they are SAP customers. For others, I would say Process Explorer and Process Manager could be the great starting point, right? And Journey Model, of course. So these 3-4 solutions could be something which could be a low-hanging fruit. But eventually, I think if customer is on a continuous improvement life cycle, I think most of these modules would make sense, because these modules exist for a reason, that find the insights, execute on them, measure again, find the root cause analysis. Once you know the root cause, fix that, automate that, and then start measuring your performance again. So in this whole life cycle, you have different modules which are bucketed along the way, right? So there's a reason for all of those. So most of our large customers, when they start using Signavio, they probably use most of these. Some customers start with 1 or 2 of these modules, get their hand feedback, and then start using those in the further life cycle.
So with that, I want to ask a question. Most people don't know the history of Signavio. So Signavio was not an SAP company to begin with, right? It was purchased, do you remember, like 2000 something? Who was it purchased?
Yeah,
20?
it was just purchased a couple of years back, yeah.
Yeah.
But Kendall, just to clarify, so this is Signavio now, suite of solution is, so I think we already had a history, right? So Signavio team and SAP was already working together when before we acquired Signavio. So we were always working closely together.
Yes. And
then there was some innovations happening within SAP around that process management area. Signavio was doing innovation. And when this new team was formed, SAP Signavio, that's where both the goodness came together. So I think from that perspective, I think our culture is pretty similar. The way we are working together.
But I like the fact that you can run it on ECC. You can run it Right. So it runs on
Absolutely.
ECC, not just S4.
It's a big commitment, but it's also very cool to see the leadership vision that looks at like, hey, this is a process company and we're going to put our money where our mouth is. And so
Yeah.
the vision of pairing the companies together is pretty neat. But also when you think about as a longtime process practitioner, it brings forward a lot of really great opportunity to be able to really help our customers in new differentiated ways.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and so we see it, we actually use it internally. Interestingly, it was used when we acquired, when we did the acquisition with Signavio, we used their tools, and we have actually been a longtime customer of Signavio. So that's pretty neat too. So.
Oh yeah, but I think it's, I don't want anybody to think, oh, this was something that just came on or whatever. No, this is really, SAP is really investing a lot of money into Signavio. They believe it, they're backing it. So and it's really slick. I mean, I was shocked. So I wanted everybody to know that the eBite. So I bought the eBite, got the eBite. Knowing me, printed it out. And I write it on the way to Sapphire on the plane. And by the time I got off the plane, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea it could do all this stuff. So you guys wrote so well. And it was very good. And it is not written so technical. It's not a technical conversation here. We're talking like more of a, totally understand it, and it totally makes a lot of sense. So thank you so much for putting this together. I think valuable. Anybody can read this. If you're a C-level, director level, manager, user, you can relate to this. So it's not just something that, the technical side can hang on to and you're like, what?
Absolutely. And I would like to call out all our key Signavio leaders who supported us throughout, and especially Craig Guerin, who was our third author, basically, right? So he was working with us, but he got additional responsibilities, so he couldn't continue with us. But we work pretty closely with Signavio leaders, Signavio experts. So Gerry and I would like to thank on this call to make right to all the leaders and colleagues who helped us throughout this journey.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, let's open it up to the guys outside that are watching and see if they have any good questions for y'all. So we're going to open it up to everybody watching. You have a question? Let's see what you have to say. All right, so here we go. Wait a minute. All right, here we go. Knowing me, don't know what I'm doing. Chat. Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Could you please share an example of an end-to-end process flow for SAP order-to-cash process, including the sub-processes?
Sure. So I think one such example could be our sale to stock, sell from stock process. So it's designed for the make to stock companies, right? So one example is that for the sell to stock, you would have the entire order-to-cash process. You would start from the quotation process, you would convert that into a sales order. Once the sales order is being converted, you might want to do your ATP checks to ensure that you have inventory which is available to be allocated to this order. Once you have done your order management cycle, you would like to confirm the order back to the customer. After confirmations, you would run through the delivery process, and then eventually from delivery process, then you would go to the billing. However, there could be variants in that. There could be a free goods scenario. There could be a scenario where you are just taking that purchase order, that sales order from the customers, and be able to ship it, let your supplier ship it directly to the customer. That could be a drop ship process, which could be a process variant, right? So I think within each process, you would have process variants, which could show that there's a different way to execute that process. But sell to stock is a most simplified way in which you could access the process. And by the way, if you have, you can always reach out to us. We can send you some links where you can access all of those best practices, which we have as part of industry best practices. Process Explorer does have all of those best practices, including capabilities which you could access. And these are good thing is that they are designed for the industries, right? So for one industry, you can access those. And how that process changes for another industry, you could also sort of use that. And good thing is that you can take that as a starting point and design your own process models on top of that. So that's something I'd like to highlight.
Yeah, you could reach out to all three of us, actually. We all can get the right answer to you. I can get with Nitin and Gerry. So, you know, so you can reach out to me as well. So we're all available for everybody here. So the next question is, how do we compare the best KPIs in the industry to our company? What is the source for the best practices as compared to the company? Where is it being implemented? Like, how do you know what you're talking about?
Sure thing. So we actually have one of the largest industrial benchmark databases in the world. Comes from thousands of customers and their experiences holistically over a number of years. What's nice also about it is that we cover, I think, Nitin, is it 26, 27 industries at this point?
25, yeah, yep.
25. So we take a very narrow or very rather discrete, well-defined view of industry groupings, so that you're able to then look at, you know, how peers are doing these processes and what that looks like to be able to benchmark yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they literally, y'all looked at all the SAP customers and what they were up to over the years, isn't it?
SAP customers and non-SAP customers, those who choose to participate in our benchmarking program and so forth. So
that's cool. So the next question is, how can I see a demo of the product? You can call me. I will be more than happy to make that happen for you. I am so in love with Signavio, by the way. These guys know it. I like the salesperson of Signavio. Every time I talk to someone, I'm like, oh, Signavio. And everybody's like, what is she doing? I'm like, oh, I really like it. Yeah. I loved how you guys will put it out and it looks like, you know, a little bubble and a line to the next one, so it's almost like an org chart look to it. So it's a visual. It's not just, you know, some people just can't see it. But if you put it in that, I'll be like, oh yeah, I can see it. That's where it's going. You know, so that visual helps big time, I think. And also everybody out there who has Rise, if you're running Rise, you only have a little piece of it. So to expand it, that's great. So just start it out and we can get you all the parts of Signavio. So just remember that too. Let's see, as a customer, do I use this tool in my run phase as part of continuous improvement? Or would it make sense to use it as part of my upgrade from ECC 6 to S4? Or even as part of a first SAP implementation?
So answer is all of them. So please do not think it about as a run solution. So it's very important it's very useful for continuous improvement, for measuring where you are. But it's also important for the exploration and discovery aspects. And that's where I think we heavily use it, that when you're planning any ERP transformation, any cloud transformation, any upgrade, we would recommend that you leverage those, because you could already get those insights on the process for performance, and also be able to figure that which are the right capabilities you want to use in the next future ERP you are going for, right? Or even the same ERP, what is a new thing which is coming in? So Signavio not only provides you the areas of opportunities for you, but it also connects that with what are the additional capabilities or additional processes, additional features, which would be important for you. I think one thing which I love about Signavio is that it also lets you know that currently your automation rate is poor and you have issues in predicting your delivery time to the customers. But then how about you use this machine learning enabled delivery time predictive app, which is coming as part of the next S4 release. So it goes at that level of detail and also recommend you, right? So we would always recommend to use it in the discovery situations, upgrade situations, run situations. That's why we call it transformation journey partner. So it's not only relevant for one phase, it's relevant across the phase. And that's something we also discuss as part of one of the chapters is dedicated in our book as well on the Activate, that how in the entire life cycle, different components of Signavio would be relevant for your overall transformation journey.
Yeah, because I also like the fact that, let's say your company wants to, you have a CEO and he says, I want to build rocket ships. And you're like, you can actually like map out and figure out how would you be able to build rocket ships? And then he's like, oh, I changed my mind. And you'd be like, oh. But maybe 2 years, but it's, it's a way of being able to map out scenarios, not just what you're doing. And let's say you bought a company or you carved out a company. Great way to do it too, I think, because, that's really cool. See what they're doing, kind of thing. So what are the challenges that you have faced with customers when talking about Signavio?
I think most often it's again, a lot of companies are doing any number of the necessary parts of what's needed to really change, transform, and continuously improve. But either they're not doing all of them, meaning, they're not able to analyze, mine, manage, model, govern, and automate, and then collaborate on all of it. So they're not doing one or more of those pieces, or they're not doing it in a way that allows it to be collaborated upon and really proliferated and scaled across an enterprise. Those tend to be the two problems that I see.
My issue is that people really are like, just can't grasp it. They're like, it's just no way could it do that. I'm like, yeah, it does. Let me, I'll dump it in your system and I'll show you. And they're like, wow.
Yeah, and I think one best practice is, rather than focusing on different applications, we always simplify it, that where you are in your transformation journey, what your objectives are, and based on that, then comes to that which of those components could be useful. So now, just looking at those 70 different modules, it could become overwhelming that, oh, why do I need to use all of them? So I think rather than going from that view, go with a view that what are you trying to achieve? And then we can always help you figure out that which are the right components for you, right? So if you are simply looking to mine your performance, let's say that I know that I have issues with my order to cash process. I want to figure out where exactly the issues are. So process intelligence is the solution for you. All you're going to do is process discovery, process intelligence, and go with that, right? If you're just looking to use that insight to design a new process, right, then you would have process manager, for example, right? But it's about looking at what you're trying to achieve. And then we would also always recommend to have Signavio experts, right, working alongside you, or a value advisors working alongside you if you're a customer, and truly have that conversation in a sort of workshop fashion, so that we can make an informed decision, right, jointly with you on where should you head from here.
I like your 4 dimensions. You've written here your 4 dimensions of business process management, which is role, who is doing what, process, how is it done, data, what data is needed, system, what system is involved.
Exactly.
And if you can figure that out, man, you got it down pat. So here's our next question. I heard that SAP Roadmap Viewer is going away and Signavio is replacing this. Is this correct?
So there are, I think that's an area where we have lots of evolution happening as we speak. There are definitely new Pathfinder, which is available. There are elements within Process Explorer, which is available. So if you have any specific areas where you're concerned, why don't you reach out to us and we can update you on the latest there. So this is an area we would say is evolving as we speak, still working, but you might see some changes in the future, not to confirm anything, but this is something maybe we would align with our product team and can confirm you for sure, right, on that.
Can't say yet. Yeah. Okay, so here's the next one. Any HR specific processes that you can share within?
So that's something which is still, I would say, is worked upon, and that's definitely area of focus. So what you can do right now is, from the process intelligence perspective, you can always use those extract, transform, and load, right? And you can always leverage those, and then you can leverage process manager to define your process model on the HR side. And I think going forward, there will be more and more of such coverages. But right now, yeah, you can absolutely start using it, right? At least in a fashion where you can start modeling your processes. You have with process manager, you have process model, which you straight away use and it design your own processes. And then we would also have the best practices library, which would be available for you, which we can, I think this is all published as part of a link which SAP provides. You can always use the link and have a starting process, and then you can define your processes further from there.
Yep. Here we go. What are the perspectives from Signavio in regards to generative AI that you benefit this product? That would benefit the product. I can't read today.
Yeah, so exactly. So that's an area, I'm not sure if you were following Sapphire. So there is an area.
Oh, they talked about. Oh,
super interest for us to. So there are already several use cases being identified, right? Where SAP is investing and figuring out what those use cases are and how can we make them happen. And of course, I think in future state, as we talk about it, there would be lot more interaction between the technology, the AI, and the human process, right? And how is that going to evolve? Is something which is definitely top of mind for SAP. So there's no concrete roadmap yet from the Singer perspective, but something maybe if you can get in touch with us, we can definitely let you know as we have more updates on that side. Yeah, but something pretty interesting and top of mind for all of us, for sure.
Yeah, remember, Signavio is new, so it's still evolving big time and changing for the better. More customers that I can get involved and ask questions, and that helps them, figure out what's needed.
Absolutely,
yeah.
As a customer, how long does it typically take to implement SAP Signavio? Forever.
No, it's
not implement. I just kidding. I use it.
Well, your earlier question, Kendall, was interesting. You had asked about like what our favorite piece of the suite might be, or and I think both of us answered. One of them is Process Insights. So Process Insights, which is used to, of course, look broadly across your SAP systems processes. I have seen our solution engineers have that up and running and generating customer data in 14.5 minutes. And so the brilliant thing about it is it is almost magical, because you sit there and people are kind of amazed because it starts generating data very, very quickly. And they're generating insights from their systems,
Isn't it as long as it takes
quick.
for someone's system to run one loop or whatever?
Yes. Yeah. And the caveat to that is, of course, the system has to be up to date and have all the current notes applied, but it can be up and running very quickly. For some of the other pieces of the suite, it can take a little bit longer when you start to think about like intelligence. You have to map it in, and that takes a bit longer. So, it's a little bit variable. And then, of course, mapping modeling, that's really self-paced. And so it's based on, how exactly are you using it? You can start using it and building maps and models almost immediately. But with regards to importing things and so forth, that's pretty quick too, though.
Yeah, exactly. So Kendall, just to add, we are talking about, we're not talking about weeks and months any longer. We're talking about hours and days in short. But then what Gerry said is Process Insights, and that's first time effort. So once you have done that and it's connected real time to your environment, you wouldn't do anything. All it does is then it gives you the latest insights, right, on your performance based on that specific time. And you can also see the trend analysis, that how am I trending on a specific process performance over the time, over the last 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So once you have that real-time connection, you can see all of those insights in a trend fashion also. So that is super cool. And yeah, of course, others, as Gerry said, it totally depends on the breadth and requirement. If you're looking to redesign your entire organizations and having those processes redesigned right from the scratch, right, for using process modeling, we wouldn't say from the scratch. We'll say always start with the best practice and then tweak those processes. So that could be a multi-month project if you're looking to change everything right from the ground. But having a quick insights, that definitely is pretty quick, right, from the Signavio these days.
So what kind of person or what division or role of a company would be the ones that would be kind of responsible for the Signavio?
So that's a great question, and Kendall, and we would say that this is about the mindset and it's about the culture shift, right? Having a process mindset versus the system mindset. And we recommend that that should be directly owned by the business. It should not be a responsibility of a, let's say, process modeler or something. It should be a responsibility of that respective business owner, right? So we would say in the future scenario, our recommendation is that the business owner of a specific area should be the one responsible alongside the process he or she owns, along with measuring these performance and then be able to model that further. So in the past, historically, you would say there used to be a BPM organization. There would be some folks who were just working on process modeling. But I think in future state, that is evolving definitely, right? And we are seeing more and more of businesses getting engaged in these activities, business process owners or business leaders who are directly overseeing all of these efforts. So that would be our recommendation also, that we directly have the business owner working, right, alongside the IT to make the entire process transformation happen along the way.
Yeah, so not like just one person, but maybe one person in every division, really.
Yeah, and think about it. I mean, in the
area,
traditional working used to be that there are folks who would work on the VZO, right? They'll create an offline model, and then there will be one person responsible for each process model. And then if you have any changes, then you have to send that offline file, then tweak it and send it back. So it used to be a lot of back and forth. In future state, I think it's all digital. It's all in the tool. All you have to do is not only design it from scratch, you just adopt the best practice. Every process node is already created for you. If you want to tweak one single step, you just make that tweak and it's all done, right? And then you also have to integrate that with your process intelligence and other insights to see that how exactly those processes are being executed along the way. So I think in future, it's going to be pretty simplified. You wouldn't need to spend those manual efforts with that person who is updating your VZO offline every single time, making the versions management. So that person can spend his time elsewhere, be more productive, right? Focus on more customer experience, more customer-facing tasks, and tasks where you could innovate and make a difference to your organization versus just updating the document, right? So that's
I remember some people had big, giant binders, huge binders full of like what happens in a company. I was like, and these people that's all they did was like change a page, put something else in. I was, that was the old days, but. Last question before this is almost over, y'all. Last question, is Signavio integrated with all the operational systems in an organization, SAP and non-SAP, or just updated manually? What's the role of Signavio or reference to view the business processes in an organization?
Yeah, so I think that's also something which is evolving very fast. We do have currently Signavio can work across the board, right? Not only SAP, but also non-SAP solutions. Different methods. With some we have native connectors, with some we have extract, transform, and load functionality. But I think our customers are leveraging it in multitude of ways. With S/4HANA, you have native connectors now. You can just, as Gerry said, you can have right within hours, you can have your results out, right? Because you can real-time connect it with your native connectors. That would be, with non-SAP, it could be extract, transform, and load. You can just quickly extract information, put that in Signavio, and people.
Like some old mainframe system.
I think even that you could do that, but yeah, there are connectors and options available with all of those. If you have any questions specifically about a technology, please feel free to reach out. We can connect you with a specific expert to answer that specific connector question to you.
Exactly. Yes, everybody here is. You can contact either one of us. You can contact me, talk to these guys. We are all here for you about Signavio. Super excited about this topic. I want to thank both of you for coming. I know I had to drag you here. I was literally the one going, let's do Signavio. And so they were like, so thank you for doing that. And the last note is we have Book Club 15, so you can get a discount on their e-bite. And we will get all of the other questions answered in a blog post. So anybody that had a question we didn't get to, we'll get those answered for you as well. And you can, we will email out a recording to everybody. And also check out the YouTube site. the SAP Press Book Club YouTube site where you can see all of us. And thank you again. And we'll do it again, okay? I'll see you guys soon, I'm sure. So thanks everybody for coming. And this was the SAP Press Signavio Book Club. Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.